Talk to me. I can't hear you. Mouth me.
It's supposed to be Tanya Powers.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get into that anyway. So can we just cancel if she's not ready? Is she ready? What's the deal?
She hasn't called yet.
Okay. I don't want to do that anyway. I would like to talk about what happened last night at Central Valley Academy, and it's called ability grouping is one of the issues. And it's this. If you'd like to talk about this, I'd love to get some parents piping in on it at 7360186. Maybe you're a school board member down there or somebody else. A lot of over 100 people showed up there last night, and at some points it was really, really heated. And I was watching the Periscope of it, and it was a blistering night. You okay?
I'm sorry. Christine just showed me the Carly Fiorina falling off the stage.
Yeah, she fell off the stage.
I didn't. Let's talk about the.
No, you want to talk about her falling off the stage? We can do that.
Not to laugh too loud. I'm sorry.
Here's the. Why would you put on a woman who is that's not a true statement? All of the research says that ability grouping is not effective. That's not a true statement. I mean, unless you're going to show an opposing opinion, because ability grouping, while there are people that are debating it, all of the research does not show that ability grouping does not work. That's an absolute untruth that this woman just said.
Can I just ask a question?
And KTV just puts it on like, well, here's an expert. This woman must know what she's talking about. I believe the way it's supposed to work is that if students are not performing well in math, as you say, then those that are will continue to move forward, but those that aren't will be in a class that is moving maybe a little slower with the goal to ramp them up to bring them back into the class that is supposed to be, that is where they're supposed to be.
Okay, so
the idea, as opposed to pushing out, taking the kid and sending them off to a remedial program, this is a class that everybody's learning pretty much at the same pace, and you want to accelerate that. That's the theory.
Okay, so my other question would be, if you excel at English but stink at math, I mean, like terrible at math, are you in the same class?
No, you'd be in the. I don't want to call it the accelerated class. I'm talking about stuff I really don't know specifically, but you would stay in a class that is with. That you're at the right. If you're at the right level in English, you're going to be in that class. You're not going to go off to a program that has kids who aren't performing as well because you're performing well in English.
So it's subject specific.
I believe so.
But
yeah.
I guess my only question is, and I don't know this. At that age, they don't split off. Like in high school, you have an English teacher, and you go to that class for an hour.
And this, I think, they're talking about. This is they're talking about elementary. Like, don't you remember? I remember when in school, if you had a problem with something, you went into.
They now call it AIS, right?
Right, and I'm not sure that I understand it. People are calling it segregation, and I'm not sure that it's segregation. I think the problem that Central Valley has, and I don't know who's right in this. I don't know who's right, but the problem that Central Valley has is that when you look at the schools' performance in the area, if you take Central New York and you look at all of the schools. You have New Hartford, Whitesboro, Clinton up there on the top. And then you move your way down. And if you go down to the valley, you do have Frankfort, Herkimer, and Little Falls that are performing. But Central Valley is at the bottom. The only school that is performing at a lower rate than Central Valley is Proctor, where 60% of their kids are English-speaking second language. English is their second language. Somewhere along the line, you got to look at the scores. I don't mean to be insensitive here, but the school's scores are horrific. And at what point you got to do something? If this grouping isn't going to be the answer, what are you going to do? I don't know.
I just question how you group.
35 out of 36 schools in the area. Central Valley is 35th. They're the only thing that separates Proctor from everybody else.
How do you group kids at that age? Because, again, in my mind, the way I'm thinking about this is you're in the same classroom all day, so you're getting math and science and reading and history all from the same teacher, all in the same class all day.
Not
really.
No.
I think they switch. They move around.
Even at first grade?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know the answer to that exactly, particularly how they're doing it at CVA, but, yeah, they do move around. Let me take Robert, and we'll come back to this in Whitesboro. Robert, on the grouping issue, go ahead.
Good morning, Bill. First, I wanted to let you know that I was a former school board member in another district, and we tried unsuccessfully because of state resistance to do the same thing, only back then we called it tracking.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely a great thing to try to implement because it benefits the students. When I was in elementary school, I was in the lower class, and what it did was it pushed me to excel.
Right.
And I graduated as valedictorian.
Wow. Well, and that's a great story. And especially math, right? If you're sitting in math.
Precisely. Because you see it all the time. I have 4 children, graduated from college, and if you don't get the math early on, you are like forever lost.
Yeah.
And I just support it. I think we've got to encourage the kids to excel, no matter what group, so to speak, they're put in. I think you have more pushback and more concern from parents who feel like they failed, rather than, they're worried about their feelings. They're projecting it on. They project that onto the children instead of doing what's best for the children.
Yeah.
Finally, I'll be quiet. You look at our competitors in the world that excel in education, who are ahead of us. Look at what they do. They do the same.
Yeah, you're. Listen, I mean, we're entering a world where, boy, I got to tell you, the competition is great.
Cutthroat.
Yeah, it's very difficult for us to. It's cutthroat, and it's tough for us to compete. Now, that doesn't mean every kid's going to go off and become a mathematician, or they're going to go off and become a scientist or an English professor.
Right?
They might be a welder. They might be a plumber. They might be. But in this day and age, last time the guy fixed my dryer at my house, he was looking at schematics. It was computerized. It was I was completely lost. This guy knew exactly what he was doing, and there's got to be some math in there, I would think, and some English. Otherwise,
there are virtually zero low-tech jobs left.
Right. I think that is even the jobs that are those manual labor jobs are high tech today. You've
got to be smart.
Yeah.
To do them well.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, Robert, thanks for the call. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So to come out and say this doesn't work and statistically it doesn't work, that is just an untrue statement. And it shouldn't be on WKTV's website. They shouldn't have chosen. If they choose that person, they should have had somebody else giving an alternative opinion on that. Here's Christine with an update. You want to talk about it, folks? Doors open, 7360186. And I don't know the answer. All I can tell you is we owe it to our kids to make sure that we do the best we can for them, I would think. Here's Christine with an update.